When I was in second, maybe third grade in CCD, I got in trouble. I know that's shocking. Sister Margaret, who was running CCD, Sister Margaret called Mom down. She had a conversation with her, you see. Because as it happened during our coursework, we came across this great parable, the Good Samaritan. And I knew this parable. And Sister Margaret called Mom down because I had told this parable in a flippant manner. There was a good excuse for this, of course. We had just seen as a family, a couple of weeks before this came up in our coursework, the film version of the play Godspell. You're familiar with, I know none of you are old enough to remember Godspell. The 1971 play, the 1973 movie, was written actually as a master's thesis, as a retelling of the Gospel of Matthew. Interesting that the parable of the Good Samaritan doesn't even appear in the Gospel of Matthew. It only appears in the Gospel of Luke, which is why we only hear it in the scriptures, in the Sunday scriptures, every 3 years. And of course, I knew this parable because I had seen it in the movie, and so I recreated what was presented at that movie. Mom's question was, did anybody else, any of the other kids, know the parable of the Good Samaritan? And Sister Margaret said no. Mom said, what are you complaining about then? We know this parable pretty well, don't we, sisters and brothers? Even at 7 years old, I recall being outraged at the behavior of the priest and the Levite. You will have noticed, I'm sure, sisters and brothers, that when Jesus asked the scholar of the law who was neighbor to the robber's victim, he answered, the one who treated him mercy. The scholar of the law could not even bear to say the word Samaritan. So disdained, so beneath contempt were Samaritans to the people of Judah that they could not even say that word. No, sisters and brothers, we recognize, as they recognize, as a scholar of the law recognize, this care for this duty, this command to love one neighbor as oneself. We hear that it is something very near to us, already in our mouths and in our hearts. But if it's so clear to us, sisters and brothers, so near to us, why bother commanding it? Why bother commanding it? We have a little clue, sisters and brothers. We hear that the scholar of the law wished to justify himself, and so asked, who was my neighbor? Looking for a loophole, looking for an excuse not to love someone, looking for an excuse, looking for a reason to exclude others from our care. That is new, isn't it? We see it over and over and over again. Indeed, sisters and brothers, we have some Catholics of some influence argue that we should love our family first, then our neighbors, then love our community, then our country, and only then consider the interests of the rest of the world. Always looking for a loophole. Always looking for an excuse. Sisters and brothers, we twist the parable inside out. when we are looking for an excuse, for a reason, to reject others' human rights. The right to life, certainly. The right to sustenance, the right to health care, the right to due process. The rights of those who are preborn. The rights of those who were born, perhaps in another country. Even perhaps to those whose parents were born in another country. No, we hear this command from God. We hear this command from his only eternally begotten Son, Jesus Christ. He commands it because it's easy to forget. He commands it because it's easy for us to get lost in our self-interest, in our selfishness, and our hatred. Yeah. In our desire to justify ourselves. We hear this great parable of the Good Samaritan, sisters and brothers, and we can be outraged, as we should, at the behavior of the priest and Levite. We should also be challenged to confront those philosophical and policy convictions that we hold and promote, that give us a reason to exclude others from our love. We are reminded, sisters and brothers, of St. John Paul II. In his great encyclical, yes, his great teaching. Some of you might be old enough to remember St. John Paul II, too, huh? His great teaching, Evangelium Vitae, yes, the gospel of life, where he taught that there could be no true democracy without a recognition of every person's dignity and without respect for his or her rights. No, sisters and brothers, the command of the Lord is clear, giving wisdom to the simple. So as we listen to Christ's command, eloquently enunciated in his powerful parable of the Good Samaritan, we are invited to pray for the grace to reject whatever is contrary to the name of Christ, and strive after all that does it honor, so that we can better respond to the command of Christ, the image of the invisible God. Respond to the example of the Good Samaritan, to go and do likewise. Praise be Jesus Christ, now and forever.